I like that line from Vrabel yesterday. Hopefully we can play cat coverage.
Cat coverage. I'm in on that.
Should I know that? I've never heard that used. I'm sure it's been used before, but I never heard it. Cat coverage. I got this cat. You got that cat. Let's go play.
I want to say, did Ty Law say that once
Maybe
on the air? I think he may. Yeah, I think I've heard something, either that or something like that before. But I'm in.
Honestly, maybe that's where Vrabel picked it up from.
Yeah, it could be.
You know,
I like. It is my favorite signing of the group, and even though Milton Williams got the bigger contract, so I like the sign that's or the message that sends, but Gonzalez and Davis is a great combo. It's already we got to be one of the towards the top of the league for cornerback duos. So I like that one quite a bit, and hopefully they do play cat coverage.
617-779-7937. That's how you interact with Jones and Keefe here on WEEI. We'll get to Rafael Devers, his borderline trade request, and a weird exchange yesterday with the media, a long exchange yesterday with the media. That comes your way. We can get to the Bruins as well if you'd like on the phones. We're broadcasting live from the WEEI studios powered by Verizon. Real quick before we get to the wide receiver search. I think we have some real insight into how they're going to play defense. And maybe you could have inferred it anyway, but they're going to continue with man coverage, physical man coverage, Gonzalez on one side, Davis on the other. And that's the way they're going to play defense. And I'll tell you what, I want to see it work, obviously, before I get fully on board with it. But if that's how you're going to do it and that's how you're going to play defense, I like it. And I think you can win games, not maybe playoff games and Super Bowls that way, but you can win 7, 8, 9 games playing defense that way, I think.
And I know you like DJ Reed, but doesn't that maybe speak to why they went with a bigger corner in Carlton Davis?
Yeah, because Reed is small.
Yeah.
The Jets played plenty of man coverage, too. It's not that he's not a man corner, but he's smaller than Davis, yeah.
But I think, those two guys are going to make the pass rush better. Hopefully you have more of an interior pass rush with Milton Williams. At least that's what we're being sold, right? That he can get after the quarterback from there. Harold Landry is a double-digit sack guy. So, last year's defense taking such a step back was brutal for the team because the offense you knew was going to be a work in progress. They were on yet another offensive coordinator. We were waiting for them to turn it over to the rookie quarterback. Didn't have a lot of options to throw to. But you're like, all right, the defense should be all right. You're like, no, it wasn't. So there's more of an overhaul that needs to be done to the defense than maybe what we would have assumed going into last year. And good news, bad news, all of the players they have signed essentially are on defense.
Yeah.
And so, all right, they're trending towards being at least the top half of the league defensive team. We talked about if they can get into the top 10 somehow, like what kind of, high floor that gives you.
Yeah, Rich Keefe Stats and Info.
All over.
Did research on this.
Snipped it right out.
There was only one team in the top 10 in terms of points per game, points allowed.
Yep.
By defense. There's only one team in the top 10 that wasn't a playoff team. It was the Dolphins. They were 8-9.
Yeah.
So that was in the playoff mix. They weren't a playoff team, but they were in the mix.
And then that also gets into, does your quarterback stay healthy all season long? Right. That wasn't the case for them and whatever else. So there is a chance for that. Now, flip side, the offense is in more of a need of an overhaul. And to this point, you have added a third receiver. You have added what I think is a backup tackle, maybe a starting right tackle if you have to, and based on this roster, he would be right now in Morgan Moses. And then you also got rid of your starting center. So, that's kind of where you're at right now.
I mean, they're treading water on offense and maybe even subtracting on offense. We can get into the plan at wide receiver in a moment. Real quick, text 617-779-7937. These idiots.
Is that us?
I'm assuming that's you and I.
Or are we talking about Vrabel? That's mean.
Oh,
talking about Vrabel and
maybe he's talking
Wolf?
about Vrabel. Yeah,
Maybe.
It could be. These idiots are never satisfied with anything our teams do. Losers. They complain the Pats don't spend money, and when they do, they bang on them. I think we gave them credit for spending money. I don't think Robert Kraft needed to come out and demand credit yesterday. That's what we were criticizing.
Yeah.
I actually think we gave him a lot of credit for spending money.
But ask yourself,
I didn't need Robert Kraft out there whooping it up with the crowd saying he actually has been told he needs to calm down about how excited he is when he decided to spend money for the first time in 3 years. I don't need him begging for credit. That's the difference.
Also, I would disagree. I didn't want the Celtics to do anything at the trade deadline. I love the Garrett Crochet, Alex Bregman signing. Things have been on the upswing. Even the Bruins. I know the fan base is split, but they realized that they should sell, and they sold. I've actually been relatively satisfied with everything these teams have done as of late, but we can't point out the fact that they don't have a left tackle or a wide receiver, two very important positions.
No.
They do need those. And also, let's just be honest with ourselves. A jersey presentation press conference for Morgan Moses and Robert Spillane. Like, come on. You're going to say, like, oh, that's awesome?
Yeah.
Please. Like,
Please.
it's not Ronnie Stanley and Chris Godwin.
617-779-7937. Let's start it off with our pal Sorja in Mansfield. What's up, Sorja?
Jones and Keefe, happy Friday. How are we today?
Doing great.
Really quick here. I think you got to give this Patriots offseason a C-. I think some of the signings were, okay. I think the Milton Williams. The biggest problem for me is that I just don't understand that, okay, if you decided to bring Eliot Wolf back, why can't he, just make 100 calls a day?
Okay, because he's not doing anything.
It's not Eliot Wolf.
We need to pick something here.
Don't worry about it. It's not Wolf.
I think I heard Wiggy doing a little bit of this today, where it's like, I don't trust Eliot Wolf to draft somebody. He's not drafting anybody. I was worried about that, but I'm not going to play this game of like every signing I like, Vrabel gets credit, and when they don't do something, I'm going to turn around and be like, Wolf didn't do it.
No, it's on Vrabel. Look at the guys they've signed. It's not only Vrabel, but he's also leaning on, hey, Terrell Williams, who do you like? Hey, Josh McDaniels, who do you like? There's been guys with overlaps with all of those guys, not Eliot Wolf. They re-signed Austin Hooper. They haven't re-signed all the guys. That's what they did last year. That's all Eliot Wolf did last year, just re-sign a bunch of players. So, no, this is a Mike Vrabel offseason. I think C- is way too low. Like, so if you're giving out letter grades, it's closer to a B.
I would give it a B right now.
Yeah.
And, I like that they spent money. I'm not going to sit here and say, guys, spend money. Then they spend it and complain about it. I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that either. I will say, just for consistency's sake, at the beginning of free agency, we did a couple of different times. We're like, what's your ideal plan? Give us your plan. Give us this, that, and the other thing. Or
defense was an afterthought for me.
But not only that, if you could spend $100 million on a player contract, forget the player. What position would it be? D tackle was really low on my list. Yeah. So, yes, I am glad that they spent $100 million on a player. I will take Milton Williams. I'm not anti-Milton Williams by any stretch. I thought $100 million would have gone to a left tackle or a wide receiver.
Same. So, yeah, that's why I would give it a B.
Yeah, B.
But
B's good. You can do well with a B.
You get your left tackle. You get your wide receiver.
Yeah.
AA+.
Summa cum laude.
I would feel a lot better about it. Yeah. Mark's in Medford wants to talk Bruins. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, good morning, guys. How's it going?
Great.
So a couple hours before the game last night, when I found out Swayman was getting the start, I said, I got a bad feeling. I think they should have started Korpisalo last night, because I think if Ullmark wasn't on the other end, I think Korpisalo would have got the start last night. And Ullmark told the Bruins last night, see, you got rid of the wrong guy.
So I disagree they got rid of the wrong guy. Ullmark's been fine this year, better than I thought. He still stinks. I wouldn't trust him at all in the playoffs. He's never won a round in the playoffs.
What about the Swayman stock? How you feeling about Swayman?
No. Swayman has been terrible. Yeah. But, I would still rather have Swayman long-term than Ullmark. I would still rather that.
Maybe Mark felt that way before the game. I think that's kind of revisionist history for most people, because going into last night's game, I was like, Swayman, Ullmark, they had
won 2 in a row. You thought maybe they had turned the corner. Yeah.
None of them are back-to-backs. We've consistently seen Swayman get, 3 starts in a row, 4 starts in a row, outside back-to-backs.
I have no problem with Swayman starting the game.
No, don't get me wrong. He was bad in the game, but I would have played him. Yeah.
He was terrible. Yeah. But the decision to start him, I agreed with. It's on Swayman that he sucked. But I would still and maybe I'm in the minority on this, I would still rather have Swayman than Ullmark.
I wouldn't trade those two right now.
Right.
If you were like, hey, Ottawa, would you take Swayman for Ullmark? I bet they would.
Doesn't Ullmark have the same deal now on AAV?
Yeah, he did. He signed the same deal.
Yeah. So, you could have kept him on a cheap deal.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you had to give him that deal, but, who would you rather have on this contract? I would still rather have Swayman, who's been worse than Ullmark, but it's also not a one-year deal. So this is a lost season for Swayman. He stinks. Terrible, awful season. Does that mean he's going to be terrible the whole contract? I mean, it could.
Maybe.
But I would personally wager against that. Personally.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, here's Mike Vrabel. I think you're personally wagering against the idea the Patriots are going to land a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like Cooper Kupp
want
in free agency. Here's Vrabel when pressed about the wide receiver need yesterday.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Sophie.
I was just curious. There were reports about you guys going after Chris Godwin. Obviously, he re-signed with Tampa Bay. I'm curious what your thoughts are, or what your plan is at the wide receiver position, and how you plan to address that, whether it's free agency or the draft.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about any of the other players other than the ones that are right here and the ones that are currently on our football team. we'll continue to target. Matt Collins will be in here tomorrow. He's a wide receiver, but we'll continue to look at the wide receiver position as it relates through free agency, explore every option with other teams, and potentially, then we'll get to the point where we're looking in the draft. And there's just a lot of time. And I know that everybody's like, it's over at free agency. It's never over.
So tough answer.
I don't like that at all.
I don't care for it. And also, she just was pointing out you went after Godwin and he's off the board. And he's like, well, I'm not going to talk about Godwin. Like, I didn't ask you about Godwin. We're just pointing out the fact that you wanted a big-time receiver, didn't get him. What are you doing next? He's like, I'm not talking about Godwin.
You struck out. Yeah.
You missed him. And then you tell me Mac Hollins is a receiver? Great. Yeah. So we got Mac Hollins. That does not do anything for me.
Oh, good. He'll be in town today.
I like his outfits.
Yeah.
Great.
I think he's a good third or fourth receiver, but that's what he is. He's a wide receiver you signed, but he's nothing more than that.
Free agency is never over. I'm like, well, we're getting there.
Hey, I agree with that.
It's almost over.
We got this tweet. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Liberty Bibbity on Twitter.
Okay.
Jones, the apoplectic feeling about not having a wide receiver or left tackle on March 14th, with the draft and trade still in front of us, reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Homer has to wait 5 days for his handgun permit. But I'm mad right now. Nothing's happened.
Good Homer reference.
Nothing's happened in free agency since Monday. No. And obviously you can still make a trade. You can still sign people.
What, you don't like Caleb Von Chase on?
You can draft people.
Another defensive player?
But most of the good players are gone. Like, can we all just acknowledge most of the good players are gone? Doesn't mean they're all gone. It doesn't mean you're done. But most of the good players now are gone.
I think it would have to be a trade right now for me to be really excited about a number one at either spot. And, like, free agency is pretty much dried up. I don't think they're getting Cooper Kupp. Every other name that is currently available wouldn't do it for me, right? Maybe Cam Robinson, but even then, there's a lot of people that are talking the other way on Cam Robinson. Be like, you don't want this guy. You don't want to commit a lot of dollars to him. So, fast forward to the draft. You have the number 4 pick right now. You can't take a tackle and a wideout at number 4.
Nope.
Right? And even if you do, what's the guarantee?
You could take a wide receiver and a corner at 4.
You could
maybe.
Yes, you could.
But not a wide receiver and a tackle.
Right. And then even the tackle is up in the air on whether the guy, like, say it's Will Campbell, there's a debate on whether or not he's a left tackle or whatever else. So I don't know if you can't pencil in starters at either position based on the draft, and free agency's dried up. So now you do have to get into a trade situation. And where's that?
That's how I feel about it. Real quick, 2 items on Cooper Kupp. You don't think they're getting him?
No chance.
Diana Rossini said the Patriots are out. Does that make you feel any better?
Ooh, maybe they're back in. All right. I thought they were out, but if Rossini says they're out, then maybe they're in.
Maybe they're actually in.
All right, maybe they signed him yesterday.
Jeff Howe also has this. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp's asking price has been as high as $15 a year per sources.
That's not much.
Giardi had a tweet yesterday. The asking price is out of control. I agree with you.
15? That's not out of control.
I don't think that's out of control either.
Justin Fields just got 20.
It sounds like he'd take less for a preferred destination, but if teams are willing to hit $15 million a year, it would widen the list of landing spots. Howe adds, teams have heard Kupp's preferences to stay on the West Coast. Location definitely isn't a deal breaker,
like DK Metcalf,
but it is part of the consideration. So this is how I feel.
Yeah.
If you hit what Howe is saying, if he's right, if you hit $15 million, you'll get him, whether you're a West Coast team or not.
So one of the things that would concern me too is if you are holding out hope that it's the Patriots. If they really wanted him, wouldn't they have traded for him?
I mean, yes.
It's not going to cost you much. Then you can negotiate it with him solely, and you have him. Like he's your guy. Now you're fighting with up to 12 other teams. Teams that might be on the West Coast, teams that might have a better playoff or Super Bowl chance, teams that have a better quarterback. Like you're not gonna win that. So we'll see. Now you're getting into this bidding war thing. So like, is that really what you wanted to do? And then, so the only way you're gonna sign him is if you can get a good deal on him, but you didn't want to trade for him, so you could like negotiate him with him solely. It's not looking good for the Cooper Kupp.
They tend to not win these battles in free agency. That would include Chris Godwin.